Top 15 Arya Stark badass moments in Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones screams blood, violence and death, and none of the Stark kids showed as much natural flair for all of it as Arya Stark. With her father's sense of justice and her natural survival instincts, Arya had one of the most unique journeys throughout the series. Like all Stark kids, Arya had to grow up too quickly. Beginning with witnessing her father's sudden execution, she suffered numerous immeasurable atrocities. Having learned that the world was a cruel, unjust place, Arya has been on a quest for revenge since her father's death. Her quiet, simmering rage and penchant for unapologetic violence have been a pure joy to witness for Game of Thrones fans. Over the course of 8 seasons, Arya has meticulously maintained a kill list, has gone through numerous teachers, and made several vicious and bloody kills. If there's anyone who deserves a list of their badass moments, it's definitely a vicious wolf girl. So that's exactly what we've done in this video. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Hitting Joffrey with a stick. There's no doubt that the tragedy that befell House Stark had a role in shaping Arya as the cold-blooded assassin she became later in the series. It is still safe to say that she had a spark of righteous rebellion within her from the beginning. In Season 1 of Game of Thrones, when the Seven Kingdoms were at peace and Robert Baratheon sat on the Iron Throne, the king and his family visited Winterfell. Snobbish and bratty Robert and Cersei, eldest son and heir Joffrey Baratheon, was a bully of the highest order. We got a glimpse of Joffrey's sadistic tendencies when Joffrey and Sansa came across Arya and her friend Mycah playing sword fighting with sticks. Joffrey instantly decided to pick on Mycah since he was a low-born butcher's boy. When Joffrey cut Mycah's cheek with his sword, Arya chose to have none of it, and she whacked the future king with her stick. Joffrey turns into a cowardly, begging mess upon facing the sharp end of his sword at the hands of the young Arya. While it may not have been the most diplomatic move, Arya showed that her sense of principles and justice could not be shaken by anyone, no matter how well-connected or powerful they may be. Freeing Jaqen Hagar. After witnessing the beheading of her father Ned Stark, Arya was spotted in the crowd by the Night's Watch recruiter Yoren and secretly taken away and out of King's Landing. It's a well-known fact that the Night's Watch mostly recruited men who had been convicted of crimes, and thus they were being transported in a caged wagon. One of the recruits was granted kindness by Arya as she got him some water upon his request despite her weariness. This man was later revealed to be Jaqen Hagar, a man of many faces and an assassin from Braavos. For now though, he was just a man of mystery to Arya. When the Night's Watch trail was attacked, Jaqen asked Arya to help him out of the wagon. She took some time to contemplate and eventually grabbed an axe and handed it over to the prisoners inside the wagon so they could free and defend themselves against the fire and bloodshed around them. Unbeknownst to her, she had opened many doors for herself on her path towards revenge. Later, Jaqen Hagar offered her 3 kills and a gold coin in case she ever needed to find him again. Jaqen Hagar saw potential in Arya and created the opportunity for her to learn how to fight like a true assassin.
Sorry.
Oh shit.
First blood. Arya was a changed woman after witnessing the horrors of the Red Wedding. Sandor Clegane, also known as the Hound, had brought Arya Stark to the twins to get a reward for delivering a Lady of Winterfell to her family in the aftermath of the unrest that followed Ned Stark's execution. However, the duo was a little too late. By the time they reached the land of the Freys, the king in the north and his entire family in attendance at the wedding had been brutally murdered. Arya witnessed as her eldest brother's corpse was paraded on a horse with his dire wolf's head attached atop his neck to humiliate the Starks. During the excruciatingly sad trek Back from the Red Wedding, the duo came across a smattering of Freys telling campfire stories about stabbing the Starks. Always calm before an attack, Arya got off her horse, distracted the Freys with her shiny Braavosi coin, and before anyone knew what was happening, she stabbed one of the men multiple times with her knife. Dumbfounded, the Hound had to buck up and help her kill the rest of them, growling at her to inform him before she was going to kill someone out of the blue like that. The vengeful, murderous Arya was born then, and she has never looked back.
Kill me.
No mercy for the Hound. It's a well-known fact among Game of Thrones fans that Arya and the Hound's relationship is complicated. Initially, she hated Sandor Clegane because he had killed her friend on Joffrey's command, and he worked as Lannister's muscle. However, we could see the two sort of warm up to each other as they trekked across the country. Their pairing became a fan favorite instantly. However, Sandor Clegane was also on Arya's kill list, and yet, when the opportunity presented itself, she chose not to kill him, not out of mercy, but to make him suffer until his last breath. After Brienne of Tarth mortally wounded the Hound during a duel for custody of Arya, he fell off a cliff. Upon finding him at the bottom, instead of dealing with the killing blow, Arya left him to die of his wounds. The scene was scary, largely because how indifferent Arya was towards her companion and protector at what they both thought was his end. Coming from her perspective, we understand why he might not deserve her mercy, but there's no doubt that Arya Stark was cold-blooded in this scene. Brienne and Arya training. Still a teenager in the last season of Game of Thrones, Arya had become a killing machine. She embodied certain characteristics of each of her teachers, from Syrio Forel to the Hound to the Waif. For years, Arya had been sharpening her fighting skills, learning how to kill in the most skillful ways. In her sparring scene with Brienne in Spoils of War, we see the culmination of all her years of training. It is also noteworthy that her opponent is worthy and another woman who has been looked down upon for being a female knight. Arya was quick-footed, cunning, and sharp, and Brienne was visibly surprised and felt challenged by her. Sansa too looked scared and unsettled watching her little sister go toe-to-toe with one of Westeros's most formidable lady knights. With one sparring match, Arya had sent a message to everyone at Winterfell that she was not the little kid they remembered. While she never disclosed where she learned to fight and kill, it was evident to everyone that she wasn't a woman to be crossed.
Maybe I'll pick my teeth with it.
Killing Polliver. At the end of the Season 4 premiere, we witness a scene that became an instant classic and set the tone for Arya and Hound as traveling companions. The duo stepped outside an inn where Arya spotted Polliver, the man who took her to Harrenhal and stole Needle. The act earned him a spot on her kill list, and naturally, she went for him the moment she saw him. The Hound, of course, had no other choice but to follow. After all, Arya was his ticket to earning reward money. After some talk of chickens, Clegane took out quite a few of Polliver's men. But things got juicy when Arya stepped in and killed a man with his own sword and used the same blade to take out Polliver's legs from behind him. Once she had her prey down and unarmed, she toyed with him, repeating his own words back to him, the same ones he used before killing her friend Lomi and stealing her beloved sword, Needle. Fine little blade, maybe I'll pick my teeth with it. She used the very same sword to pierce through Polliver's throat, killing him in cold blood.
You're nothing.
Killing Meryn Trant. Ser Meryn was a ghastly man. He would hit Sansa at Joffrey's command and was a child rapist and abuser. So we're really not upset that he met his end at the hands of Arya Stark. But what's scary is how grisly his death was at the hands of a mere girl who was less than half his size. The moment she spotted Trant in Braavos, we knew she would be tempted to go after him. He was on her kill list after all. In a split-second decision, Arya betrayed her vow to the House of Black and White, which states that she must only assassinate assigned targets, and exacted revenge on Ser Meryn Trant. Using a face from the wall of the House of Black and White, she disguised herself as a child prostitute. It was only when she was alone in a room with Trant that she took off the mask to reveal her real face, immediately after which she pounced on him and stabbed out his eyes one at a time. She then stuffed a rag in his mouth before stabbing him in the chest 6 times, after which she stopped to tell him who she was and why he was meeting his maker at her hands. Arya told him that he was the first person on her kill list. Her reason? He killed Syrio Forel, her sword-fighting teacher. Then she proceeded to slit his throat, effectively killing him. Even though her actions had grave ramifications, Arya was a total baddie in this scene.
As you die.
Killing Walder Frey. Arya imbibes everything she learns from all her teachers, and some of her more deadly skills come from her voyage to Braavos. Masquerading with a face that isn't her own, she appeared in front of Walder Frey as a servant girl, providing his second serving of meat pie. As the old lord of House Frey asked her if she had seen his sons, she gestured at the pie and said, "They are already here, my lord." When Walder Frey spotted one of his son's fingers in the pie, he about lost his dinner. They weren't easy to carve, especially Black Walder. She stated as she removed her mask, revealed her name, and slit the grisly man's throat with a wide, satisfied grin on her face. Arya gave us one of the most satisfying deaths on the show in this scene. After all, a man who welcomed her family into his house under the guise of a wedding and then murdered her mother, brother, his wife, and their unborn child deserved nothing less.
You should have ripped them all out, root and stem.
Killing the Freys. Another instant classic scene from Game of Thrones was the Season 7 cold open. After killing Walder Frey in the Season 6 finale, Arya opens Season 7 sporting Walder Frey's face and addressing the cowardly men of his house. When the greasy voice of Walder Frey starts to sarcastically note how these brave men before him had butchered a pregnant woman and slit the throat of a mother of 5, the audience knows it was not Walder Frey, but Arya Stark who was talking. The tension reached its peak as Frey berated the men of his house sarcastically and raised a toast to them. Soon after taking a sip of their wines, the men started dying one by one. Arya pulled off Frey's face and watched with unbridled glee as House Frey died and disintegrated right in front of her eyes. Then she told Frey's surviving girl wife, if people asked what happened here, to tell them that winter came for House Frey.
Cersei. Walder Frey.
Arya's kill list. As Arya and the Hound trekked across the 7 kingdoms, Arya would name certain people out loud each night. The Hound commented that she was naming literally every person in Westeros, and the young Arya corrected him, stating that she was naming every single person she was going to kill, so that she never forgot their names. Although the Hound didn't say much, he was visibly shaking by the cold vengeance inside this little girl. Getting a place on Arya's list means you did something to harm her, her friends, or her family. Once someone is on the list, they'll most likely never get off it until she kills them. Some of the most notable Westeros dwellers that were on her list are Cersei Lannister, Melisandre, the Mountain, the Hound, Joffrey Baratheon, Tywin Lannister, and Walder Frey. While she couldn't kill everyone on her list on her own, the ones she did kill made for some of the series' most watched, cheered, and loved scenes. Reclaiming Needle and herself. In the show's early stages, we discover Arya Stark to be a rebellious girl, fighting her way through the norms of society. She has witnessed her sister be girlish, dreaming of a Prince Charming, waiting to be swept off her feet. But Arya is nothing like that. She likes to play with swords, wants to have an adventure, and takes control over her life and choices. Her brother Jon Snow understands Arya and gives her a sword as a parting gift before she leaves for King's Landings with her father, and he goes to the wall with Uncle Benjen. She names her sword as a reference to Sansa's skill in needlework. She says Sansa can keep her sewing needles. I've got a needle of my own. The needle stayed with Arya even as she witnessed her father being executed, and later as she was forced to live on the streets. In Riverlands, Polliver, a man-at-arms serving under Sir Armory Lorch, steals needle from Arya, chuckles, "Maybe I'll pick my teeth with it," and then cruelly kills Lomy Greenhands with it. In Season 4, Arya finally recovers her needle from Polliver, holds it close to his neck, repeats the exact words he said before he killed Lomy, and stabs him through his neck, retrieving her weapon. She had to depart from all her earthly belongings in Season 5 to be no one. She discards her old clothes and stolen silvers, but she hides her swords under a pile of rocks, unable to depart from Jon's gift. As she leaves the House of Black and White, she reunites with her beloved sword, and has never passed with it ever since. The journey of Needle has embarked upon Arya's own journey. A small token of love and appreciation given to her by Jon Snow helped her survive through some of the most terrifying times. Arya could never truly be no one. She could never detach herself from her identity. She was Arya Stark of House Stark, the headstrong, feisty, tomboyish girl who would bring justice to those who wronged her family. Killing the Waif. Waif was a girl Arya met on her journey at the House of Black and White. The Waif is part of a cult called the Faceless Men, who serve the many-faced god referred to as the God of Death. His followers are trained to be no one. They are assassins who charge a considerable fee for their kills and can change their face for the sake of their missions. Arya met Jaqen in Season 2 and came across him again in Season 5. She even trained with him. That is where she met with Waif. While Jaqen was away, the Waif took up much of Arya's training. The Waif seemed to have a wrong opinion of Arya from when she arrived. She was continually beaten, berating, and emotionally torturing Arya. When Arya failed her first assignment, the punishment rendered her blind. However, following her second failure, the Waif volunteered to kill her. Jaqen agreed if the Waif promised to kill Arya gently, but that was not the case. She stabbed Arya repeatedly in the stomach. The Faceless Men weren't supposed to want anything, yet it was plain that the Waif desired Arya's demise. She refused to give Arya a swift death, and instead chose to make her suffer. The Waif's personal hate for Arya contradicted the Faceless Men's ideals. After Arya survived, the Waif found her and disguised herself as a young man to kill Arya the second time. After a grueling duel, Arya emerged victorious. She could have taken the opportunity to become no one. Instead, she proclaimed herself Arya Stark of Winterfell. The ordeal made Arya Stark one of the most powerful characters in the series.
You idiot. Dressed as a boy. Why?
Safer to travel, my lord.
Going undercover as a boy. In Season 2, Arya was in hiding after she escaped from King's Landing following her father's execution. She was in Harrenhal Castle and served as a cupbearer to Tywin Lannister, the father of Cersei, Jaime, and Tyrion Lannister. Tywin was waging war against Robb Stark and got attached to the uncommonly brilliant cupbearer during her time there. But Tywin Lannister is also clever, and like a chess player, he is one step ahead of his enemies, so it was no surprise when he figured out that his cupbearer wasn't a common folk, despite trying to disguise herself as one. Fortunately for her, Tywin never figured out who she was, or he would have definitely used her as a hostage against Robb Stark. During one Game of Thrones Season 2 episode, Petyr Baelish paid a visit to Tywin, and Arya did her best to hide her face while serving him. During this scene, Littlefinger casts some suspicious glances at her way, implying he recognized her. Having said that, he never revealed her identity, and this narrative point was never mentioned again. Later in an interview, actor Aidan Gillen said that Baelish did recognize her, but chose to stay silent. Arya's bravery and spirit have made her one of the most beloved characters in the series, and we have seen her grow more confident in her disguises through the years. Her meeting with Tywin Lannister was a great moment in the show. It was in the middle of all the tension, and she had so many opportunities to kill him, but she was still the innocent girl, and since then, she has grown more robust and scarier. Killing the Night King. It was a surprise that the series showed Arya Stark as the one who killed the Night King, and not Jon Snow. But the Game of Thrones has shown a lot of surprises in the last season. The Night King is the first and the king of the Night Walkers. He has been around since the first men and is the supreme commander of the army of the dead. He first appears in season 4. In Bran's vision, Bran gets bombarded with pictures from the past, present and future, many of which he was not present for. He has no idea what all these visions are, but one of them is an image of the Night King picking up the last of Craster's son off an ice altar. As he touches the boy, his skin turns icy and he becomes a part of the Night Walkers. In season 8, the Night King continues to pursue his target, the three-eyed raven Bran Stark. Theon Greyjoy charges at him, but the Night King breaks his spear and kills him. He then walks to Bran and begins to draw his ice blade, but someone leaps at him from behind with a Valyrian steel dagger. The Night King reacts quickly, spinning and grasping her knife arm with one hand while holding her throat with the other. On the other hand, Arya has one more assassin's trick up her sleeve. She drops the blade, catches it with her free hand and plunges it into the Night King's chest, causing him to erupt into shards of ice. His death causes a chain reaction, leading to all the Night Walkers shattering similarly.
I will never forget them.
Killing Petyr Baelish. Arya Stark is known to be the deadliest character in the show, with an estimated 1,000 kills. But the audience was no surprise when she slit the throat of the cunning Lord Baelish in front of everyone. Littlefinger had been known to always be one step ahead of everyone. He betrays most of the characters in the show and has many enemies. He has been underestimated by most people, and all have paid a hefty price for it. But his biggest mistake was betraying Sansa Stark and turning her against Arya. Sansa and Arya arranged a ploy to put Lord Baelish on trial in season 7. He was accused of murdering Sansa's uncle, Jon Arryn, by poisoning him. Later, he murdered Sansa's aunt, Lysa Arryn, by pushing her through the moon door. Sansa then accuses him of starting the conflict between the Lannisters and the Stark. Littlefinger conspired with Cersei and Joffrey to betray and kill Ned Stark. He tries to beg Sansa, appealing to her softer side, but a Stark doesn't forget, and later, in a swift motion, Arya slits his throat. By the 7th season, Arya Stark had discovered herself and was now on a mission to bring justice to those who harmed her family. Killing Littlefinger was another essential step to getting the order to the north, and the ease with which she murdered Littlefinger was utterly badass. Arya Stark had a perfect curve from being an enthusiastic child to being the defeater of the Night King. She has journeyed far beyond her comfort zone. Her journey has made her stealthier in her moves, which helped her protect her brother Bran, and killing the Night King finally ended the nightmare of the Night Walkers, making Arya the ultimate badass in Game of Thrones. That was all in this video. Do hang around for more film and pop culture content. Also, do leave a comment on your favorite moment from this list. Stay safe and have a good one. That was our list of top 15 moments where Arya Stark proved that she is a total badass. However, this video will remain incomplete without a few honorable mentions. Arya threatens Hot Pie with needle.
You want it? I'll give it to you. I already killed one fat boy.
Arya threatens Sandor Clegane.
Someday, I'm gonna put a sword through your eye and out the back of your skull.
Arya to Tywin Lannister.
Anyone can be killed.
That's all for this video. Do stick around for more exciting content. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.
The hell you doing?